they finally did. So the Crow, the original Crow, the Alex Proyas came out in 1994, right? And then
he's the director of The Crow.
Alex Proyas.
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah. And then there have been three sequels since then. With Joe, did you watch all of them this week?
Yes.
Okay, great. And the sequels are what? City of Angels, Salvation,
and then the fourth one was
the Edward Furlong,
the worst one. Redemption.
Okay,
was it Redemption? No, it's not. It's something sillier. Walking Dead.
Now,
something like that.
I watched the original 1994 one again, and I watched the Kirsten Dunst one, which is Salvation, right?
Yes.
The second one. Okay,
it's the third one.
Third one overall. Sorry. No, Wicked Prayer is the fourth
Thank
one.
you,
with
Wicked Prayer.
Edward Furlong. So The Crow is not. It's not like we only got the 1994 one. There have been these three sequels. I mean, they're very direct to video. But The Crow is this thing that has been sort of sticking around. I know there's a lot of nostalgic '90s love for the original Crow, and so they finally got this new one off the ground. I mean, they would say, it's not like a remake of the 1994 one. It doesn't look anything like the 1994 one. It is going back to the original source material, the comic book by James O'Barr, and going back to that and making a new version of that. It stars, as we said, Bill Skarsgård, the Doug Jones of the Skarsgård family, who as Pennywise, Nosferatu, other creatures. FK Twigs, Danny Houston, who is all over the place, everywhere, all the time.
He's every week we go to the movies. Danny Houston's
Danny
in one.
Houston. I mean,
it's like a sixth movie this year.
We talked about Eric Roberts making a run for the most credits of all time. I feel like Danny Houston's got to have racked up a couple hundred by now. But so that's the situation of The Crow, and it was directed by Rupert Sanders, who we're going to talk a little bit about. If you don't know the name Rupert Sanders, he was the guy that got caught cheating on his wife with Kristen Stewart, which broke up Kristen Stewart's relationship with Robert Pattinson 10 years ago, which Trump tweeted about. So that's who Rupert Sanders is. So The Crow, look, it didn't make any money. It got terrible reviews. So I go in, because look, this is The Crow. To me, this is one of the movies that tested our commitment to honesty, right? Because that's our big thing. We are going to be honest with you, and honesty is personal. I'm being honest with you about my personal feelings about things. Joe's being honest with you about his personal feelings, but we can't deny that you have preconceptions about movies. That's part of honesty, I think, is you go into a movie with certain preconceptions, and so going into this movie, I had the preconceptions of this thing's getting terrible reviews. It looks awful. It looks very silly. It looks very Jared Leto doing Joker, kind of look. It looks very Suicide Squad-y. It made no money, so I'm expecting.
You low expectations.
What am I gonna say? I'm expecting a bomb. I'm expecting a total bust. Okay, and the movie starts off not great. There's an opening. There's a cold open that's like a flashback, and it's very sort of I don't know, pretentious but dumb, and then the first shot you get out of the opening credits is this terrible CGI cityscape of two subway trains, and it's why don't you just set up a fucking camera and shoot a city for 5 seconds? Why is this whole thing CGI'd? Just get a shot of a city exterior for fucking 5 seconds. And so I was like, all right, here we go. Crow sucks. But then, dear audience, and you're going to have to go with me on this ride. I'm so nervous about this, but I got to be honest with you. Because I don't know, but I feel it. I got to be honest, okay?
What do you feel?
The movie starts to against my expectations, it starts to notch some wins. It starts to little by little throughout the next 10 to 20 minutes of the movie, it starts to notch some wins. First of all, Bill Skarsgård starts out in this therapy prison. I don't know what that was. That was it
looked great.
Yeah.
So I was are they in Sweden?
Yeah, no, it looked incredible.
I
it was
guess later she calls it rehab. So I guess it's some sort of
rehab.
Punitive rehab.
It's punitive rehab. I almost think it was sort of a dystopian version of therapy or of rehab,
or a utopian version of the American prison system.
Yes, it was one or the other.
Yeah.
But it was somewhere in the middle. But it's all this brutalist architecture, and they're all wearing these light pink sweatshirt combos. And it's kind of well shot and looks good, and I was like, oh, okay. And then there is, and this is the big departure from previous Crows, because one of the things I love about the Crow franchise, and I do love the Crow franchise, starting with the one in 1994. One of the things I love is how the love plot, which is like, never has a love plot been more important to a movie. It's literally the thing that brings the Crow back from the dead and makes him like take on whoever he's taking on and like fight and kill everyone. Is like his love for his slain lover, right?
Yeah.
It's so crucial. But in every Crow movie, the love plot is so unconvincing because it's always like told in flashbacks, and the flashbacks are so silly. And look, I love them. I cannot stress enough how much I love how like silly and campy the Crow is. But in the 1990s,
Also, to set the stage, like,
yes,
the Crow is always the worst guy in your philosophy 101 class.
he's a little
who
sad boy in the
raises
corner.
his hand.
He's a little sad boy in the corner.
Or he's a little, you know, like it
Yes,
depends on your
yes.
depends on your flavor of Crow, but
Yes.
this is always about that guy. That it's a person that talks like they work at a Renaissance fair.
Talks in like Renaissance limericks.
You know, it's the biggest hearted school shooter you know is the Crow. That's the vibe, and it's always that guy has like always a love affair that Brett's right. Like it has to be the love of loves, the love that spans through eternity.
The love that brings you back from the dead.
Because the Crow, so it's these guys that like
the love that
feel
resurrects
a lot,
the dead.
comes back.
But they always show it in
gets-
flashbacks. And
yeah,
like my
right.
favorite is the original Crow, where all of the love scene flashbacks are they're so funny and great. There's one where he's like,
'Cause
where the
he's-
Crow
he's
has
a
like
loser.
he has like a mask on, like a little Renaissance mask on, and he goes up to his girlfriend and he's like boo, and she's like, oh my god, and he takes it off. He's like, I'm kidding, it's me, and then they like
me, the
laugh
Crow.
and fall on the ground. It's like it's amazing stuff. Okay, but the point is the love plots in the Crow are always like not convincing. It's
Never
always, you're
convincing,
never-
but essential.
Okay, but essential. Now, cut to 2024's Crow. You can disagree with me. The like chemistry between FK Twigs and Bill Skarsgård is electric. It's like I was like they're fucking in real life. Like this is like they are
it's
like
it's not for us to say,
No,
but
but,
a
like, you
similar
feel
thought
that.
might have flit through one's head.
yes, it like and I'm not saying that I have no idea.
How about
but, like
this?
that's like
it was
they're good.
palpable
They-
on-screen chemistry.
palpable on-screen chemistry between these two from the get-go, and it's also it's perfect Crow chemistry because it's like
It's perfect.
I don't
Crow
like either of
chemistry.
these people. They're just like such like weird sad sack, but I love their love. I love that they found each other.
I love their
I
love,
love that they
too.
found each other. I love their love.
They're
And
so weird.
they're
Why
so
wouldn't
weird.
they want to get together? They're both attractive. Let's put it that way. Especially if you are interested in that flavor of goth, whatever the hell that is. And
Not
they're
quite. We'll talk. I'm gonna have a very specific take on what their
what-
style is.
You know what I'm
but
saying?
yes,
Like
yes,
the tattoo,
Yes.
sadness,
yes.
2024 gothness. Yeah, the big thing that look, Brett's in the middle of his thing. I don't think this movie is good at all, but I do think it succeeds in certain places, and one of those areas is I too was
This
convinced
is the first time.
by the romance of FKA
Here's one
Twigs
thing.
and Bill Skarsgård.
Even if you don't like this movie, even if you think it's like not a good Crow movie or not a good movie at all,
Right.
you cannot tell me that this
I
is
kinda am with-
this is
I'm
the
with you.
best love plot in the history of the Crow franchise. I legitimately believe that these two are like mad for each other,
No, they are.
desperate for each
Mhm.
other. They are such a cute little emo couple. They're so sad together. They tell each other all their secrets. They make little like electro SoundCloud music
Oh my
together.
God, that was
It's
so funny.
cute and adorable. I fucking love
Well-
it. She's reading Rimbaud to him at the picnic and like doing her
It's
dances.
really funny.
And then when they like the second they get out of rehab and they go to her apartment and just like fuck all weekend,
Yeah.
it's oh my god.
Yeah.
Like it's like guys, here
I agree.
you even if you don't think the Crow is good,
It's not.
I am here to tell you, you don't have to come to my side, which as yet I still have a lot to say about this. You have to agree. I have to. Two things are objective. Best love plot in any Crow. Number two, everything you're reading about this Crow movie is wrong. Even if you
No.
don't like it, everything you're reading about it being this like terrible flop bomb is totally wrong. Is completely wrong. Or here's what I will say, Joe. Here's what I'll say. If you concede to this Crow remake being a total flop bomb, you have to then like throw out the baby with the bathwater. You don't get any Crows. You don't get any fucking Crows if you think this one is a total bomb, because this is a Crow movie, okay? It is not a cash grab like Alex Proyas is saying. This movie is as much of a Crow movie as any of the other Crows, and so if you don't want this one, you don't get any fucking Crows. All right. So Here's some other things that I liked. Okay, there was because once we're in once we're in like rehab prison, I was like, okay, what's going on
A
here?
co-ed rehab
And then
prison.
there are some look. And not like the coolest in the world or the hippest thing in the world. It's the Crow we're talking about, okay? So it's like, but there are some like needle drops in this movie that I was like pumped up for in the theater. I was like, fuck yeah, this is fun. The first one is FKA Twigs and Bill break out of rehab prison, and then you start to get the drums of Joy Division's Disorder, that song. And when that kicked in, I was like, oh, fuck. Yeah. Okay, let's rock and roll. And then you watch them like break out of rehab prison and they're so in love and they're running across that field with Joy Division's Disorder playing. And I was like, rock and roll. I'm having fun right now. There's another needle drop where when Bill is like crowing it up for the first time, he's like in all black and the literal crow is like flying next to him and he's walking down that dark city street. And then they start playing Gary Newman's Me, which is a song I love. You might know it better as the sample in Basement Jaxx's Where's Your Head At? That Where's Your Head At? It's the sample in that song. But it's like a killer song. And like that song playing under Bill Skarsgård walking as the crow down a city street in the dark and the crow's flying next to him. It's fucking rocket. Let's do it. What are we talking about here? This is fun. My preconception started to change, progressively throughout this movie. And look, I'm not selling this as some masterpiece, okay? I'm not even selling it as like a great or maybe even I don't even know if it's a good movie. But everybody who's talking shit about it shouldn't have been made, it's a cash grab, it's a waste, I don't agree with any of that. I think this was a movie that is totally worth your time to go see in theaters. I think there's a lot that's fun and interesting about it, and I think it is totally deserves its place in the Crow franchise. And if I'm on an island on that opinion, fine, I'm on my island, okay? But it ain't Epstein Island. It's a much tinier, smaller island, and it's just me, okay? So I do want to say to Alex Proyas, because Alex Proyas, the director of the 1994 Crow, came out and on Facebook, he's been having a blast. He's loving pissing on the ashes of this Crow remake.
Fuck this guy.
Because he came out, thank you.
Fuck
Thank
that.
you. And I was on your side. I love the Crow. I love Dark City. It's your career's been a little rough after that, but that's what happens, baby. It's fine. If you had asked me last week, what do you think of Alex Proyas? Love Alex Proyas. This guy comes on Facebook and says, I thought the remake was a cynical cash grab. Not much cash to grab, it seems.
Fuck you.
Ha ha, the movie didn't make any money.
You.
Let's look at your filmography post
shit.
Dark City, okay? You directed the Will Smith I, Robot. Sounds like someone wanted their own cash grab. And then after that, the only two movies that you've been writer director of were Nicolas Cage's Knowing and then that movie Gods of Egypt. Anybody remember those? Probably not, okay? And again, this is only because you started this fight, Alex Proyas. I don't want to have this fight. I want to like your Crow, and I want to like this new Crow. But you decided to come out and have a fucking party for this movie that's not doing very well, okay? You, as much as anyone, should know this is a tough business. Movies rise and fall. They do well, they do bad, blah, blah, blah. It's all up in the cards. It's all chance, okay? But you're having a big party at this movie's expense, and I don't like it, okay? I don't like it at all. Also, The Crow was not your idea. You adapted a comic book just like this movie is adapting a comic book. You don't have proprietary control over The Crow. And if we really want to get into it, and I love The Crow, I love 1994's The Crow, but if we really want to get into it, Alex, do you really want to get into it? Your movie's fucking stupid, okay? Man. It's a little fucking dumb, all right? If we
and we
really,
love that about
and
it.
I love that about it.
We love that, but
I
let's
love
be
that
honest.
about it. But let's, you didn't make some unimpeachable masterpiece that no one can ever go back to the source material for. Give me a fucking break, Alex Proyas, okay? 1994's The Crow is, in its way, monumentally stupid. And I love that about it. I fucking love it. I love the style. I love him playing his guitar with his amp up on the rooftop, okay? I love it. I love it when he comes into the meeting with all the mobsters and their guns and he goes, "Gentlemen?" I love it. I love all of it. But if you want to start some fight over, they can't make another Crow movie on my watch,
Yeah,
fuck off.
Get the
fuck
fuck
off
outta
with
here.
that.
You owe them an apology.
Cash grab? Something you're very familiar with,
Fuck
buddy.
off.
He's retweeting all the bad reviews of The Crow with a little winky face
It's
emoji.
loser shit.
That is loser shit.
That sucks.
You should be doing my argument. You should be supporting this movie, okay? Because it's crowing it up just like you crowed it up. And here's the thing too. Here's all right. Because I was like, it doesn't look. People are gonna people that like the original Crow too. They like it for one of the things I like it for is just that it is like the 90s goth movie. It just has that, like, it has that look, that aesthetic, that feel, right? This Crow that happens in 2024, it's not just going to do like retro 90s goth.
Exactly, right.
Like you did that in the 90s.
We already have
that. So
that.
the question is, there has been, if you look at youth subcultures since the 90s, every generation has its like version of the sad kid, right? The high school sad kid we all fucking love. I love it, right? The 90s it's goth. Later it's emo. Now here's what I think. And I think we were wrong to say that that they're making the Crow look like Suicide Squad Jared Leto. Here's what I think. And you might hate this, but here's what I think is happening. I think it's an authentic version of doing a Crow in 2024. This is a Crow for SoundCloud rappers, okay? He made a Crow for SoundCloud rappers for sad. This isn't Jared Leto's Joker that they're making him look like. They're making him look like Lil Pump, Lil Xan, Lil Peep, Post Malone, if we need a more accessible comparison. This is and what is our goth? What is the goth kid of 2024 if not sad little SoundCloud rappers making their sad little SoundCloud raps? That is goth of 2024. Sorry if no one agrees with me, but this is an authentic Crow for 2024, just like goth Crow was authentic for 1994. Let people make their movies, okay? And this movie is providing the same level of kitsch and silliness for SoundCloud rapper culture that 94 Crow provided for goth culture. So much like I yelled at Yellowstone boomers for not coming out for Horizon, Joe, I would like to yell at two groups of people for not coming out for 2024's The Crow, if I may.
Please.
Number one, the aforementioned SoundCloud rappers. I know you think this movie is cringe, but guess what? This is what you look like to the rest of us, you sad little wiry, tatted up sad boys. We're not sure if we should hug you or hide behind the refrigerators because you're about to shoot up the Best Buy that you've been lurking in for the last hour. And I know people are trying to find, what is the Gen Z movie? What is the Gen Z movie? Is it Bodies, Bodies, Bodies? Is it Challengers? Is it 8th grade? Is it Booksmart? It's 2024's The Crow. This is the authentic Gen Z movie, but no one will admit it and no one will embrace it. Fuck you, SoundCloud rappers, for not showing up to support your movie. Number two, 40-year-old men who wear band t-shirts. You have two choices. Go watch The Crow in theaters and open yourself up to the experience, or admit that life has passed you by and trade in your Bauhaus t-shirt for an LL Bean fleece because you're done. You're cooked, and I'm sick of it. Those two groups of people should have been lining up in droves for 2024's The Crow, and they didn't. They're complaining about how it's not like the original, and they're so mad about that. Blah, blah, blah. Join Alex Proyas. You're done. You're cooked. It's over. Now, am I saying that The Crow, 2024's The Crow, is hip? No. Am I saying it's good? Not really. But I am saying it's a fucking Crow movie, and we need Crow movies in this sad little world of ours. In fact, you could argue, Joe, you could honestly argue, and I'm going to go ahead and argue it because that's what we do here. We do takes on this show, okay? And this is honest. I'm going to say it.
What?
This is the best Crow movie. It's better than 1994's The Crow for a couple of reasons. Number one, the relationship that I already outlined. We don't have like a silly, implausible relationship told through flashbacks. We have a fucking beating heart of a relationship. These two people can't keep their hands off each other. It's electric every time they're on screen together. Number two, this is a big one. This movie is fucking violent. This movie is violent and it doesn't do it all at once. But there are little moments like that moment where he has to like push his liver back into his like body after he got like cut up, and then there's like when there's that like fight in the car in the tunnel, and he has like the biggest compound fracture I've ever seen in a movie, and you're like, oh my god, okay, this movie's like violent, and then it's all leading up to the big Opera House killathon. Joe, do you not like the Opera House killathon?
No, it was fine.
It was fun. The Crow, when he's full crow, goes into an opera house because luckily for him, very conveniently, all of his enemies in the world have all decided to go to the opera on the same night.
That's right.
So all of his enemies are at the opera, and this guy.
And double good news: the opera's loud tonight.
And
don't forget that
it's loud. And triple good news: no one in this opera ever has to go to the bathroom.
Nope.
Because the hallways are
there,
just security guards that he has to kill, and no innocent bystanders.
And the opera's so loud nobody can hear like the constant gunfire and katana throat slashes.
The kills are wild. I would say beside In a Violent Nature, I have not seen a more violent movie this year in theaters than The Crow. It was violent, and it was fun. I loved it. It was a good movie to be violent in. It was like a movie where the violence was fun and part of the experience and worked for me. And then when he walks on stage, Joe, after the opera, and he's holding the heads of his
spoiler alert for the
villains.
Crow
I'm
2024.
sorry. Look, you all said this movie sucks and you're not going to see it. So guess what? You get spoilers. Okay, that's the way this works. We didn't spoil Blink twice, but you all decided to shit on the Crow, so that means I can spoil it. He walks onto the stage at the opera with the heads of his enemies, and he tosses them in the crowd.
Why did he antagonize the crowd?
There's no reason. There's just
Crow.
people. It's just like donors for the opera.
Yeah, I know.
He
Crow.
just tosses
It's
these
donors.
two
It's
heads.
just people at the
I love it.
show.
Eat the rich. Fuck them. They're
just at
throws
the
these
opera.
heads into the audience, and then this song comes on, this like moody song, and the first line of the song is, "I am a strange man." I was like, yes, you are, and I fucking love it. Everyone's wrong about The Crow. 2024 is The Crow. They put a fucking Enya song on the soundtrack. Danny Houston is great with his devil voice. He sticks the knife through the Crow's nipple at one point. There's a fight scene where hilariously one of the like people that Bill Skarsgård is fighting halfway through the fight like takes his shirt off, and then he fights the second half of the fight without a shirt on. But it was so clear that they just wanted Bill shirtless.
Oh yeah,
and so they have this villain be like, and like takes his shirt off.
Well, look, Bill didn't do
I had
all
so
that
much
for
fun.
nothing.
I had so much fun in this movie, Joe.
Bill agreed.
Oh my god! All right, I have one last thing to say about The Crow, and I'm gonna be quiet about this. Thank you, Mario. There is.
Okay.
Because we have to talk about.
What didn't you say?
What
do we have to talk about?
All right, this is the one. This is like.
Go on.
For fun in my fantasy football draft with my final pick, because we had this crazy draft where we had like 14 rounds. For fun in my last pick, I picked Stetson Bennett, who is a legend at the University of Georgia, won 2 national championships back to back as a former walk-on. He's not having a good NFL career, and he's like he's probably going to be cut after Jimmy Garoppolo gets off his suspension on the Rams. But I picked him for my team because I had to support my guy, and it felt like good luck. And then I saw this like statistic in like this. It showed like how many people in fantasy football have drafted this guy, and it just said 0% even after I picked him. So it's like 0.00001%, but it rounds down to 0%. This opinion similarly will be 0.0001% of people have this opinion, but I have it.
What is it?
True. Step aside Alex Proyas, because the true director of the Crow franchise has emerged, and his name is that douchebag Rupert Sanders, and I'm going to tell you why, okay? No one has had a more brutal, not even Alex Proyas, no one has had a more brutal fall from grace in Hollywood than Rupert Sanders. Are you already upset about this?
No, go on.
Rupert Sanders, let me give you the rundown of Rupert Sanders. Let's cut back to is anybody still watching this? We haven't alienated our audience, have I?
Alienated the audience? What are you talking about? How would we know?
All right.
In the chat?
Everybody's hanging with me on this? Okay, all right. Okay, good.
You're crushing.
I'm like the Crow. I think I'm more edgy than I am. Rupert Sanders, let's go back to 2012, okay? Rupert Sanders is directing his first film, Snow White and the Huntsman, starring Kristen Stewart, Charlize Theron, Chris Hemsworth. This movie makes $400 million at the box office. Pretty nice-sized hit, top 10 movie of the year. It's his first movie. This guy is set up now. He is ready to fucking rock in Hollywood. Well, hey, your next A-list Marvel director just showed up. His name is Rupert Sanders. Everything's going great. Then, also behind the scenes, we didn't know this at the time. He's cheating on his wife with Kristen Stewart, who was dating Robert Pattinson at the time. So in his like addled douchebag brain, this guy was like, I'm alpha. I'm fucking at the top of the world. I got this big movie. I'm cheating with Kristen Stewart, Bella from Twilight. I'm the fucking man. I'm the guy, right? He's at the top of the world. Then the famous photos come out, Rupert Sanders and Kristen Stewart smooching on the side of the road or some shit. Immediately, it breaks up the Kristen Stewart-Robert Pattinson relationship. Great for Kristen Stewart. And great for Robert Pattinson. They both have gone on to live absolutely their best lives since then. Absolute great,
the best.
High five, both of them. Rupert Sanders, on the other hand, his wife divorces him almost immediately. And his wife is Liberty Ross, a British model, it girl. She's the sister of Atticus Ross, who's like Trent Reznor's, composing partner, did the scores for Social Network, Challengers, etc. And they had 2 kids together. So she divorces his ass right away. And he's now known as like the guy who like broke up Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson, right? So he's known, he's like a tabloid guy, and his family has left him. And this is immediately after being at like this, highs, right? The next thing he does, his big comeback movie, is he does that Ghost in the Shell with Scarlett Johansson that just like whitewashed the entire cast, and everybody was rightly critical of that. So that was like a just. Who even saw that movie? Who knows how much money it made? But it was just, again, another like just bad headline movie for Rupert Sanders. What does he do after that? He tries to make a movie where Scarlett Johansson's playing a trans man, and everyone was like, no! No! She drops out of the project, and that thing just like, ends before it began, right? And then meanwhile, while his career is plummeting, Liberty Ross, his ex-wife, marries Jimmy Iovine, the billionaire record executive, the guy who made Beats headphones with Dr. Dre. They did a whole documentary about it called The Defiant Ones.
Yeah, it's a good documentary.
In which you can, among other things, see his insane Malibu mansion, all right, where Rupert Sanders' kids now live, right? So his ex-wife marries Jimmy Iovine, and then
it's tough.
And then meanwhile, and then the next thing up, now he's like, I've said I liked his Crow. It's not obviously not doing well. So now and then he makes The Crow. He's at the bottom of the bottom. This guy's not going to get money to make another movie. There's no way, right? And meanwhile, his kids are calling Jimmy Iovine Uncle Jimmy. Like this guy could not tough. What an insane fall from grace. And I want to be clear. I am not not a fan of Rupert Sanders. I'm not endorsing Rupert Sanders, but we are talking about The Crow here. We are talking about sad boy, all in his feelings, sad boy, The Crow, right? What better person? I feel like the energy of this movie, the sad emo goth SoundCloud rapper energy of this movie. This was a personal. You might think this was this is where Alex Proyas is wrong. This is not a cash grab. This is a very personal movie. All of Rupert Sanders oh my God, they're fucking nobody understands me. They don't understand my side of things. They don't get me. All of that. All the 10 years of just dissent, family gone, ex-wife marrying Jimmy Iovine, all your movies fucking bombing out because you insist on casting Scarlett Johansson in every role. Everything is just, and he poured it all into The Crow, and you feel it. And I'm not gonna lie, it's a bad energy, but it makes for a very interesting cinematic experience. I think Rupert Sanders found the heart of the film franchise The Crow more than Alex Proyas did, and that's why you should go see 2024's The Crow.
The Crow 2024. Yeah, definitely not a recommend from me. It's got a really long, really brutal and slow Act 2. Act 3 doesn't really feel as satisfying as you want it to. I, too, enjoyed the romantic connection. I think it got that right for sure. The original Crow is, it feels like everybody on that production was committed to a very singular vision. It feels like on The Crow #1, everyone in everyone departments, from editing to art direction, all thought we are making a very specific kind of enjoyment, and everybody was on the same page. This is this very particular flavor of enjoyment. The Crow is, and everybody was on the same page. In this Crow, Brett, I feel like some people were on the right page of how we were gonna make the Crow updated, and then different departments were not connected. And I feel like there was, some, I don't know if this was true or not, but it felt like it was company interference or too many cooks in the kitchen, and you just sort of came out with, a movie that certainly had fun in some places. This wasn't the worst movie of the year or whatever you nerds are going on and on about, but it's certainly not the best movie of the year, and this movie is definitely on the bad side of good. The original Crow, Brett, he is somebody who here's something I kind of liked about this Crow update. The original Crow is so fun and funny and it's such a good movie, and they really like all of its bits and parts come together to really effectively sort of give you a very specific kind of Halloween goth Crow vibe.
What are you, some kind of clown?
Sometimes the Crow responds.
No, do it like the Crow.
He goes, sometimes. And he smiles
Great.
because like a
It's
goth
great.
is kind of so. But that guy, I want to beat up. This new Crow, I do not want to beat this Crow up. This
Oh,
Crow,
he'll cut your head
this
off.
is like every guy that drives a forklift in Pittsburgh, just the thinnest guy in the world. You cannot beat him up. And like he has a huge cock, but only because he's so thin that the cock gets like extra space.
The weirdest review of the Crow.
So
I mean, collectively between the two of us, there's literally
no.
there's
And you don't want to fuck with this guy. This guy like goes to the fucking like Steelers games and sits up in the fucking top seats and drinks just like the entire time. And when the concession stand like shuts down, he goes up and like gets 2 huge more drinks. He's so fucked up. He's been in the parking lot since fucking 9:30 a.m. smoking cigarettes.
Remember the
and
guys
just-
in Gummo
yeah.
that beat up the chair in the kitchen
Yo.
that just got out of prison and they beat up the whole
I am
kitchen room
scared.
table? That's
this Crow is the like. It's like, oh, look, that guy's really thin. I'm sure he's not. Oh my God, he twisted me into a pretzel. He's the strongest man in the world. What the fuck? It's that kind of thin guy. Very, very scary.
Everybody else's review of the Crow is like one sentence. It's like bad. Next, we have this is. But look,
Yeah.
You don't have to agree with us. We are trying to give you a review of the Crow.
I'm trying to explain to you what the Crow's
that is
like.
real, okay?
This is as close as I can get. You know what else? Well, here's my last thing about the Crow. That's something that I haven't seen in generations. I didn't know they did this anymore. You get all this media bread. You know how like we live in a city, and for those of you that live in cities might know this feeling where like the news would suggest you live in like the fucking purge, and then you go outside and you're like, no, I just live in a nice city, and sometimes there's different things that they always make it seem so bad. You know what I mean? Well, you know how they always make it seem like Gen Z's like never gonna procreate ever again as long as they live, and no one's having sex, and nobody dates, and everyone's on their phone. Well, I'll tell you what, like the Crow was like a fertile, like I saw high schoolers on dates. Like it was like an energy of like people were like leaning on each other, like holding hands. I didn't know like the kids were going to the Crow to make out. I didn't know kids still went to the movie theaters to make out. I've never seen.
Are you talking about real people in the movie theater?
Brett, I'm sorry. The audience, the kids in the audience were like on dates at the Crow.
Well, that's great.
There was like 4
that.
like first or second dates at the Crow with kids that looked like they are like amped for the Crow, and it just sort of restored kind of faith in.
Were there any
the kids.
walkouts? Because for me, there was a couple walkouts like when the violence really started to like amp up.
No.
Like in a violent nature.
0
territory.
walkouts.
Okay.
If anything, people were mad that I was also there, so that they couldn't make out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have
you? Were you in the? Was there a balcony? Were you in the balcony for
Of course.
this one? Yeah. The balcony is where I've been in the balcony at
yes.
AMC City Walk, and couples will show up and see me there and just
And
like
be like,
walk and
"Fuck."
turn around and leave or go fuck.
Well,
yeah.
I actually the
And
first
I'm like, sorry.
I went to the first balcony and there was like 3 couples, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna tap out. Went to the other balcony, 2 couples.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was like, well, I'm not gonna go down to the floor. I'm obviously gonna sit in the balcony.
Yeah.
But
the best place to sit.
all the kids were on dates at the Crow. So,
I love that. I support it.
and it was a very like, not whatever. It was a version of sexy. Like Bill looked good.
You can
Bill looked good. If that's your cup of tea,
Yes.
well then drink deep.
Look, I will accept any. I fully accept any counter arguments to anything I've said tonight about the Crow, except for the fact that Bill Skarsgård and FKA Twigs have electric sexual chemistry on the screen. That is objectively a fact.
And it's not like I want to be in their like I get that they're very attractive, but whatever. It's like I don't want to be in their relationship.
But it's like we
I'm
said.
looking at 2 people that have
so happy.
chemistry.
I'm so happy you found each other. is
yeah,
what
right,
I kept
right,
saying to
exactly.
myself.
I know. And I was sad when she died for the Crow, and his revenge was, a version of warranted.
Dude,
like,
when she dies,
it worked.
that scene was effective. When her death scene,
All right,
very
look,
effective.
the Crow's really bad. Don't go see it.
Go see the Crow.
But I think you should
see the
see it
Crow.
because
yes.
there's something about it. I do. When I was watching it, there was like 50% of the time I was like, oh, instant cult classic, instant.
Yeah.
But then there was other like
There-
50%
no,
of the movie. There was another
No.
50% of the movie where I was like, this movie is slow, bad, poorly lit, terribly edited, and just like not the original Crow in every minute is being silly and fun and trying, and they got 1,000 edits and every department's like.
I love
But
the,
then
I love the original Crow.
but the
We're
new
not saying
Crow has
that,
all these
yeah.
like these parts that stink. Okay, we're done on the Crow. Sorry, was that an
All right,
hour and a half on
last-
the Crow, Margot?
Sorry.
Sorry.
Last thing I will say.
Okay,
This is
yeah.
why I think you should go see it in theaters, because this is the thing that makes me upset. Is like, I don't know why people are being like mean to this Crow.
I-
They're
I
being
would-
like
yeah, why-
mean. Why is Alex Proyas being mean?
Don't
to this,
bully
like,
the Crow.
yeah, like you're not.
First of all, you're gonna get your comeuppance.
Yes, because it's not like cash grab. It's not a cash grab.
It's
The
a
movie,
fucking Crow.
the budget was $50 million. Like it's not like it's Lionsgate. It's not like there's and it also like it went ultra violent. Like it's not like trying to like Borderlands. I think is a better argument because they softened the Eli Roth. They softened the whole thing. But like,
Dude,
this Crow is wild.
It's a
like,
straw man
like,
argument. There's no
Yeah.
like a cash grab. Like, oh, the studio tried to like reinvigorate IP to make money. Like, wow, it's such a fucking
Right,
cash
and also
grab.
like, what is your
Fuck
career
off.
been, Alex
Yeah,
Proyas?
the
Like,
fuck-
and look,
every movie's a
I
fucking
don't want to be in this
attempt at a cash
position. I
grab.
like Alex Proyas. I love Dark City. I
Just
love
don't be
the original
mean to the-
Crow.
don't be
But
mean
I
to
don't
the
know
new
why
Crow.
people are being so mean to this Crow remake. That's why I think you should go see it in theaters. Let's have here's what I want. The challenge, the Crow Challenge. The Crow Challenge 2024. Even if you've agreed with nothing I've said, even if you like you hate the concept of this remake, I will say go see The Crow weekend 2. Let's have a big weekend 2 for The Crow, because you have to admit people are being really mean about this thing, and I don't know why. And it feels like a thing that The Crow would fight against.
That's what I'm
People being
saying,
this
man.
mean to
Crow's
him.
gonna get you.
Yes. So let's all dress up. Go to the and you can dress up like Brandon Lee's Crow. You can dress up like Bill's Crow. You can dress up like Edward Furlong's Crow. You can dress up like that guy, that character actor who did the Crow's Salvation, and they barely put any Crow makeup on him.
God.
They put like
The Crow Salvation
two black
is
streaks on
so
his cheeks.
tough.
All right, this is the Crow Challenge 2024. I want this movie to have a huge rebound week 2, huge rebound, and then I want to. Then if this movie has a big rebound, week 2, then I'm gonna tweet at Alex Proyas, and I'm gonna just be doing laughing emojis. Ha ha ha! Ah ha ha ha! Look at you now. Signed, The Crow.
Crow 2 when?